Good morning, gang. Happy Saturday morning from 05:30 from a nice dark eastern Tennessee here. Yeah, I couldn't sleep. Uh, Lots on my mind with everything going on. So I had put together a video last night with all the things that were going on, and after recording it, Mrs. P and I were talking about it, and she says, hold off on that one just a little bit. Let's see what else happens. And I thought it was a good idea, so I did. So here it is, first thing Saturday morning, and for us. And I figured, okay, I'm going to see what goes on overnight here, which is, figure in Europe, it's now the middle of the day. I want to see what's going on. Now, before I get into all of this, I want to put a disclaimer on all of this. This is my opinion. This is my analysis of all of this stuff. I'm entitled to my opinion just like everybody else is. I'm out on an island here with my opinion, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm wrong, okay? Doesn't necessarily mean I'm right either, but I want to give you my opinion. I want to give you something to think about regarding this. This video is probably going to be pretty long, so get out the big coffee cup, or maybe two, because this may take a little bit. But it's Saturday morning, so hopefully nobody has to rush off to work. All right. So yesterday afternoon, a lot of you guys probably saw NPR and CBS and PBS all came out and started to saying, invasion of Ukraine is imminent. Putin has made his decision to do it. Now, this wasn't based on U.S. intelligence or anything of the sort. This was based on hearsay, fourth level hearsay, okay? So, in other words, my neighbor's dog groomer's barber's cashier at the grocery store. Okay, that's how far out we got on this one. So, again, remember that old kids game where you start a sentence at one side and go to the other. Of course, everybody's favorite chump, Jake Sullivan, our national security advisor, go figure that one out, okay, is pounding the table going, Russian invasion is coming any day now. They're going to start by bombing the major cities in Ukraine. This could happen as early as today. Okay. To me, this is like the 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Because for 2 months now, Sullivan has been out parroting, it could happen any day now. It's imminent. It's going to happen tomorrow. Yada, da, da, da. Okay. And every day, it goes past and nothing happens. Okay? A broken clock is right 2 times a day. Right? Eventually, this guy could be right, and I don't even see that happening. Okay? And I've got good reason to believe that. Now, you get Sullivan saying, an invasion could begin at any time. It's going to happen any day now. And eventually, yesterday afternoon, the White House had to walk back what CBS, PBS, and NPR were saying, that Putin had already made a decision. He said, we don't have any proof of that. Oh, okay. Thanks, their news media, for panicking everybody that something like this was going to happen. So you take a look at what's going on. The U.S. has advised all Americans to get out of Ukraine. Apparently, we have about 30,000 civilians in Ukraine. That, the transportation system is going to be destroyed. They're going to be bombing roads and bombing everything. And, you might not be able to get to Kiev, get on any means of transport and get out of Ukraine immediately. This is what the U.S. is saying. The EU isn't evacuating anybody. Now, there are some countries that have said, okay, let's take out our diplomats or whatever it would be. There's a whole bunch of countries out there that are just puppets of the U.S. And, the U.S. said do this, so we better do it. Okay, which Sorry, I'm an American, okay? I 100% believe in the United States. There's no other country in the world that I would ever give my heart to. But the decisions that are made sometimes in this country by both sides, I will continue to say, leave me just shaking my head going, how freaking stupid are you? All right. So I went through numerous news sources, okay, from everywhere. And I'm going to give you just a list of what I looked at. RT, Moscow Times, TASS, there's your Russian news sources, the Kiev Post, the Kiev Independent, Ukrinform, the Ukrainian media. I went and looked at France 24. I went and looked at Euronews. I went and looked at Al Jazeera. I mean, I went and looked at War News. I mean, I covered France, Germany, Greece, Russia, Ukraine, the UK, and the US. All right, figure somehow, some way, somebody else is going to want to talk about this besides the US, right? The US, of course, is making this all sorts of panic. So here's some quotes, all right? And first one from Russia, Deputy Foreign Minister Andrei Rudenko, all right? The situation has become completely absurd. We have repeatedly stated at various levels that we have no plans to invade or attack Ukraine. That's the Russian standpoint, okay? Now, I'm going to give you this. Nobody ever comes up, except Obama, okay? Nobody ever comes up and says, hey, we're going to invade at 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday. Be ready, okay? You know. So I wanted to see what Ukraine thought. And so I looked around. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba, okay, quote, I want to declare absolutely officially that Ukraine is not planning any offensive actions. We do not need any provocations. All these reports of the Russian side are aimed at instilling emotional state and attempts to shift responsibility onto Ukraine. This is what's going on. Joe Biden is trying to play wag the dog here. He is trying to do whatever he can to goad Russia into doing something. Okay? And Russia keeps saying they're not going to. Mind you this, it does Russia no good to do this. Now, I will say Putin is a very intelligent leader, but nobody knows if he's gone completely wacko himself, all right? You know, I can't even say Joe was never a stupid idiot, but, you know, let's just say right now that I'm going to bet that Putin hasn't completely lost his mind and turned into the second coming of Adolf Hitler. Now, to give you some facts, the Russian population, 66% of the Russian population does not want to go to war. You think about what this would do. This would completely destroy the Russian economy and make Russia an island, literally. Russia's economy is based on oil and gas, period. Okay? They're a one-trick pony. They go to war, there's no more selling gas to all of Western Europe. I've told you before, Russia is actually the United States' third largest provider of oil. They would cut off all of that income. And again, you think about the woke movement. Why would you piss off 50% of your customers? We talk about that all the time here in the States. As a country, why would you piss off almost all of your customers? If Russia literally pulled this off, their only place to sell oil would basically be China. That's about it, okay? No businessman will ever tell you in the world, have one customer and expect to stay in business long, okay? Because that one customer pisses you off and that's it. China also looks at this and goes, if we align with Russia, the rest of the world is all of a sudden going to be against us. So much for the Belt and Road Initiative, so much for the global yuan that China wants, okay? So you start putting all this together. And like I said, this is all my analysis, my opinion. But like I said, I went and looked at news from all over the world, okay? And I listed everywhere I went. Nowhere on none of these sites is the story top news. The only stories are, top Washington official warns Russia or whatever. No other country is coming out and saying, we've discovered this or we are doing this. The only stories are what Jake Sullivan's talked about. And Jake Sullivan's a complete moron. Okay, that's an undisputed fact. All right. As a national security advisor, I'm dumbfounded we haven't been attacked yet. Because he wouldn't know what happened after it happened. But so, I looked at these websites and you can check any of them out. All right. Like I said, go look at the Kiev Independent, go look at the Kiev Post or whatever. They actually have a timeline on their webpage, okay, of what the news is coming out. It's almost like a Twitter feed, okay, except it's just them. You can't comment. About what's going on at 12:01, at 11:18, at 11:02. And you can follow all of this and read exactly what's in the news. I mean, literally, the top news over there. New Zealand urges its citizens to leave Ukraine. Oh, okay. Blinken to speak with Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov today. Great. Okay. This is it. There's nowhere talking about prepare to get in bomb shelters, take up arms, anything like that, invasions coming. And this is the news straight out of the country that is at risk. Okay. You think that if any country knew what was going on, it would be Ukraine, more than the United States. All right. Don't tell me, you can say whatever you want about, U.S. intelligence or MI6 or the CIA or, National Security Agency or whatever. I got to think the boots on the ground are going to sit there and know more. Okay. That's just blatantly obvious. So I went on through and, y'all know that Biden's supposed to meet with Putin today. It's supposed to be somewhere around lunchtime Eastern time. Emmanuel Macron is supposed to have a call with Putin today as well. And this is where it gets interesting because it's no secret that the U.S. is kind of the leader of NATO. All right? Basically, whatever the U.S. says, everybody else kind of falls into line and goes, okay, yes, whatever you say, like a little lapdog. Except Macron is not all that thrilled with it, okay? Macron probably already sees Biden as the worthless idiot he is. Now, the EU has a rotating presidency, okay? And Angela Merkel was the de facto president of the EU up until the end of 2021. January 1st, it became France's turn. So Emmanuel Macron is now not only the leader of France, but he's also the president of the European Union. Macron's take on Ukraine is different than Biden's take. Now, mind you, who a majority of the members of NATO are. European countries, okay? North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It was to protect Western Europe from invasions from the Soviets. That was the reason that it was established in the first place. Macron doesn't want anything to happen. He doesn't want to disturb the apple cart. Now, I won't say nobody. Biden sure as hell wants war. But Europe doesn't want this because it's going to be on their soil. It's wonderful for the U.S. to say, oh, war is inevitable. It ain't fought here, okay? We're not the ones, Washington isn't the one that's worried about getting bombed. So the tactics are going to be completely different. And who are the Europeans going to side with? The war hawk, Biden, or the war dove, Macron? Okay, so there's that. There was an interesting article, and I'm going to link this one for you guys, from Al Jazeera. And I know what y'all say, but it's a decent news source. And they interviewed here some former Russian separatists on whether another Ukraine war was possible. And the guy said, one of the most striking comments in here, and mind you, this is somebody that fought for Russia in this battle they've had for the last 8 years against Ukraine. The Russian army simply doesn't have the resources for such an expansive operation. We might reach Kharkov. That's it. This is boots on the ground saying that. Okay? The Russian people don't even think this is a good thing. I'll give you a couple other points as to why I don't think this is going to happen. And I think this is all bluster. What I really think is going on is Biden is trying to coerce Putin into doing something, or is setting the stage for a massive false flag where, like Gulf of Tonkin, okay? We're going to create something out of thin air. We're going to make it up into the media that gives us an excuse to go do something. Okay? Mind you, Gulf of Tonkin in Vietnam, what got us in the war, never happened. I did my thesis on that in 1991. Interviewed people that were there. In 2003, the U.S. government finally admitted that it never happened. I was saying it 12 years earlier. Not that, tons of other people were too, but that's when I wrote my paper. Same thing here. Biden is going to do whatever he can to say Russia did something, when the U.S. inevitably, because I don't even think it's going to be Ukraine, we're going to be the ones, or Britain, somehow it'll end up being tied into NATO, will be the aggressor. And they'll blame it on something that Russia did. Now, in this same article, and I got to find it again here. Where was it? There we go. One of the Russian separatists, okay? His comment, he goes, sooner or later, I think this conflict will turn hot. The guys at the front lines are under strict orders not to shoot. But you understand it only takes one shot from the other side and some hot-headed lads will return fire. That's all it takes, guys. Hey, we'll pop a missile in there or whatever it is, say they did something, because there is little skirmishes going back and forth. I mean, there were 8 violations of the Minsk agreement the other day. And, there's still occasional mortar going off, a little bit of rifle fire, or whatever it would be. This has been going on for 8 years, no big deal. But now all of a sudden somebody's got to do is send something just a little bit bigger, and that's all it takes to blow it up. But here's why I think this is all bluster, and this is where I think it's going to go. Anybody know where Joe Biden is this morning? He's at Camp David. Biden decided to take a vacation. Now, you tell me this. Jake Sullivan came out yesterday and said, war's inevitable, war's going to start any day, war could start tomorrow. Again, like he says every couple of days. They're going to bomb, do whatever. If war was going to start today, tomorrow, Monday morning, would you think the commander-in-chief would go on vacation? Washington doesn't even believe this is going to happen themselves. They are just putting out this propaganda to the people. Again, my opinion, What's Putin's best plan of action? To do nothing. Why? Because with the U.S. saying over and over and over and over, this is going to happen. They're going to bomb. They're going to do everything. It eventually turns into Chicken Little. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. And it never happens. All Joe is going to do, and Putin can play this one perfectly if he wants to. All he does is make Biden look like a weak, paranoid, schizophrenic, going, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, and it never does. Okay? He's embarrassing Joe on the world stage more than Joe's able to embarrass himself, okay? You know, who knows, sucking Jill's finger or, farting in front of the Duchess of Cornwall or whatever it would be, I mean, let's not even get into every gaffe he makes every day. The other day he couldn't even figure out if we were talking about, the reporters were asking about Ukraine or Afghanistan. He gets his countries confused. I mean, Joe probably can't even find Ukraine on a map. But this is why I don't think it's going to happen. Now, on the other side, something will, okay? Whether it is sanctions against Russia or whatever, the bluster, the jawboning and everything like that is going to cause something. Whether or not it winds up a shooting war, a bombing war, an EMP war, or whatever, something's going to happen. There's going to be sanctions placed on Russia. So what does that mean for us? Well, like I said earlier, we get our third biggest supplier of oil is Russia. Guess what? Gas prices are going to go up. Okay, that's inevitable. Said many times, expect $5 a gallon of gas this year. Not a problem. We're averaging over 4 as is right now. Gee, we can go up a little bit more. Hell, gas went up here 10% this week. So, went from $3 to $3.30. If something does happen, and, again, like I said, this is all my opinion. Doesn't mean I'm necessarily right. I think I am, but I could be wrong. What happens if there is a war? Now, personally, I'm not old enough to be drafted. Okay, Mrs. P's not going to get drafted, whatever it would be. But that could happen to people of that age. What does it mean? Well, now all of a sudden, do we turn into a wartime economy? Because as much as everybody says this is going to be a little skirmish, which, if anything, it's been a little skirmish for 8 years. Okay, anything gets bigger, this could turn into World War III. I don't think anybody wants that. How far does World War III go? I'm not saying go out and dig a bunker in your backyard and prepare for nuclear fallout or anything like that. God, that's not what I'm saying. Get everything put together. Start thinking in your mind, okay, if something happened, how am I going to get my whole family here? Kids that are far away, parents that are far away. How are you going to get everybody centralized? Do you have stuff set up like, okay, now I'm going to have 12 people in my house. How am I going to have sleeping quarters or, towels, plates, whatever would be for everybody to use? Start thinking about that, because if something happens, go back and watch videos or movies or whatever it is on how people survived World War II with rationing. All right. We already know what the grocery stores look like. Something goes down, the military is going to get first priority on everything. Okay. Are you going to be asked not to buy tires, sugar, coffee, whatever again, like World War II? That's possible. Okay. So if you can't get it later, you need to have it now. I know it's real weird to think of. I don't see it happening. But again, I'll use the terms I like all the time. I don't think it's probable, but it is possible that this could happen. And if all hell breaks loose, this is exactly what for years and years and years and years and years, all of us have prepped for. Have a good Saturday. Pinball out.